This is Pucks in 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
Okay, it is the middle of the week, at least Monday to Friday week 7 days, and when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're not in the middle. We're in the middle of absolute chaos and excitement. That's what we're in. But that's what round 2 now of the Stanley Cup playoffs is all about. Welcome to Pucks in 7. Ryan Payne, Victoria Matiash. Later on, Gary Lawless, Vegas Golden Knights insider, will join us. We had him on a number of months ago. Now we'll talk, though, specifically about the...
One of my favorites.
We could go, and I know we do the 77 seconds, 7 questions with him. We could give him 17 questions because he has so many stories to talk and to tell us about. So yeah, really nice guy. So he'll join us. We'll dive a lot into game 1 that happened last night. Edmonton yet again coming back. They take that game, so they're up 1-0 against Vegas. We'll talk to Gary about game 1 and the series. And again, of course, go 77 seconds in with Gary Lawless. We will get to some news on Jack Hughes, or I guess lack of news. It'll make sense when we do talk about that. On Jack Hughes, we'll look at the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs game 2 coming up tonight. But let's begin, Vic. Game last night, Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. And this is with all due respect to these two. Out of these 4 series, 2 in the East, 2 in the West, going into round 2.
I knew you were going to say this.
It's just not the sexy one.
It's on paper, if you're not a member of the fan base of either team.
Right.
Okay, we have to say that.
Yes,
if you're a Caps fan or a Canes fan, obviously you
That's
care
why
a
I
lot
preface
more.
it saying with all due respect. Yes, go ahead.
So it is just on paper. I think it's mostly because every other series just has a little bit more going on. There's a little bit more drama. So, but that was a heck of a hockey game.
It was.
I watched it from minute 1 to minute whatever it was in overtime.
3 and change, I think, something.
3 and 6 seconds.
That's it. Yeah.
I watched it from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was your prototypical Carolina win, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
They out-hustled the Capitals.
They're not a fun team to watch.
It depends what kind of hockey you want.
Yeah. I think they're
They had 33 shots on net, so it's not like they weren't generating chances.
Yeah.
But they stuck to their system, even when they went down 1-0 after Protas scored. They stuck to their system. They were the better team from start to finish in that game.
Right.
And they never panicked. They never wavered from what Brind'Amour wants them to do. They were rewarded with a Stankoven goal. And then, of course, they were ultimately rewarded with the Slavin goal in overtime. And this is with Logan Thompson was outstanding in this game. This could have been 5-1 in regulation. This could have been 4-1 easily. He kept the minute. Everybody else on the Capitals looked lackadaisical and slow to me, like they didn't have any oomph, like they needed time to warm up. And the Canes, to me, the Canes came away better in the face-off dot.
Yep.
All the boxes you want to check, they checked. So, no, it wasn't drama-riddled, except for a Tom Wilson bit we'll get to a second. But it was your prototypical Canes hockey.
And I think part of it, too, going into this series for me was that the Devils fell in 5 games to Carolina. The Canadiens fell in 5 games to Washington. You have Winnipeg against Dallas. Both teams in their previous series, they went to 7. Edmonton, Vegas meeting again. Toronto and Florida, they hate each other, right? So there wasn't that whole... Well, what happened in the first round for all these teams and then what's happened before? I know these 2 teams have met before in the postseason, but you're right. The point I want to bring up is what you said about Carolina just played their game. And yes, it could be a boring style of game. They could amp it up if the opposition does the same thing, whatever, but they are so structurally sound. And I give a huge credit always, since Rod Brind'Amour has been behind the bench. I've said this, you know this, Vic, you've known me, and
Absolutely.
I talk about this a lot. You get a former player behind the bench as a head coach, there's something different about it. And when you get Rod Brind'Amour behind the bench, there's something different about it. So they responded. Can we just tip our cap to Freddie Anderson? He got a win last night. And Freddie, just stay healthy, please. Just stay healthy.
That's all we want.
That's all we ask.
Because when he's healthy, he's good.
He's so good.
Actually, check.
Yep.
When he's healthy, he's great.
Yep.
So when he can stay fit, my 2 other notes from that particular game, Logan Stankoven, that other piece in the trade.
Yeah.
With the Mikko Rantanen.
I had forgotten about him. No, I didn't. I'm kidding.
I think we all have forgotten about him a little bit.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen is now considered a Conn Smythe favorite for very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But here is the other guy who scored a very key goal in that game. And I'm also going to point out that another player involved in all the drama involving Mikko Rantanen this regular season, Marty Necas, is no longer playing in the playoffs. So are the Hurricanes going to be the ultimate winner, at least coming out of the East? We have yet to see, of course. My last note on this before we move on.
Yeah.
What did you think about? This bothers me clearly more than it bothers everybody else because I check social media. Nobody else is up in arms. What did you think about Tom Wilson grabbing the mouth guard out of Sebastian Aho's actual mouth?
Well, he didn't use his bare hand. He used his glove, so I thought it was fine.
That's grosser.
I had no problem with it at all because you know me when it comes to mouth guards in the league. Everybody who uses them, they chew them. They're hanging out of their mouth. Remember we talked, I think, earlier on in this season, and we were mentioning Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes.
And one of my questions was, how many mouth guards does he go through a year? And I think the answer was 3. That's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting. So anyway, I had no trouble trouble with it at all. I hope that the mouth guard was not used after that, or it was really disinfected quite a bit in order for him to use it after. But no, I had no issue with it. It's better than licking somebody.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's exactly what Lair said at the same time when I was having a hissy fit about it. I'm telling you, I would rather, maybe it's a Matiash thing.
It is. It's a Matiash thing.
You want to spear me in the gut? All right.
No, come on.
Draw a penalty.
No.
It's my mouth. Ryan, it's my face.
I know, but
don't put your hands in my mouth.
But I don't think he put it. No, he didn't.
I know, but he still grabbed it out. Okay.
That is absolutely a Matiash thing.
I've aired my grievance. We can move on.
Okay. Now we can move on. Everything's fine. She feels better. We'll briefly touch on Edmonton and Vegas. Edmonton winning last night, 1-1. No surprise. The comeback kids, if you will. Calvin Pickard.
Annoying.
I said this months ago, and I'll keep beating this drum as long as I possibly can. He should have been the number one guy 3-4 months ago. He is the number one guy right now. I don't care what you say, Knobloch, about the game before. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he is the number one for now, but who knows what's going to happen in game 2, game 3. No, you ride him as much as you possibly can. It's working. They're winning. Game, set. I'm done.
Also, the defense was actually quite good in front of them last night, and we don't often say that about the Oilers.
No,
let's save the rest of it for Gary Lawless because we want to do a deep dive on that.
Okay, so big story coming out of game number 1 between the Panthers and the Leafs. It was a wild game.
Whatever do you mean?
Hold on, just let me check my notes and let me check X. Oh my goodness, it's still blowing up. So Leafs win. Okay, game 2 tonight. Okay, the Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
Elbow, arm, contact with Anthony Stolarz, who again took a puck before that in the head. He had to leave the game vomiting, went to hospital. He's now out of hospital, which is great news. Mm-hmm. However, no penalty on the play, no supplementary discipline. Now we go to game number 2. We've heard from Paul Maurice. We did hear from Sam Bennett the next day. We've heard from the Leafs to a man. They're saying, it's over with. I'm done. We're not talking about it. Let's move on. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I agree. We have to move on now. Now the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the decision.
Should have been a penalty. Penalty.
But if it's not caught on the ice, okay. The fact that the Leafs asked the Department of Player Safety to have a look at it.
Hold on.
And they didn't even really want to have a look at it.
I want to go back to what you said.
That's what bothered me.
You just said the fact that it wasn't caught on the ice, okay. What do you mean by that?
I think refs miss things. I don't think they're perfect. That's all.
Right. But look at the calls that they have missed. And they have to do with Florida. Most specifically, the Aaron Ekblad forearm. There's no way that call was not a penalty, yet the league looked at it, and then they suspended him 2 games. The NHL has missed, the referees have missed a lot of calls, Vic. And I remember last weekend, a couple of weekends ago on my show, we were talking about, again, we appreciate what the refs do. It's a very tough job. I don't envy it.
I couldn't do it.
It's extreme. Do the linesmen, should they get more of a say in, hey, maybe these 2 refs missed something? I saw something. I caught something. Let's just hold it. Hey, so-and-so, come here for a second. This is what I saw, and this wasn't good. That's all I mean by that. And the fact that Stolarz was hurt, you can't blame the whole thing on his exit with the Bennett contact, because I do think a lot of it had to do with the puck that he took off the mask. But my point is, the calls that they have missed, they've been very, very obvious calls on the ice. That's my point.
Didn't happen, though. I would have liked the league to at least have looked at this.
Yeah, agree.
Should he have been suspended? I'm not entirely sure. I think a game might have been okay.
Sure,
it wouldn't have been any more than that.
I agree.
But this whole accidentally on purpose crap we're hearing from some players. Oh, you get away with the accidentally on purpose. If there's any on purpose in that saying at all, then it's on purpose.
Right.
Just because you had the opportunity doesn't mean you have to go through with it.
No.
Right? And that's listen, I love Sam Bennett. I don't really like him today. I love Sam Bennett. I would love to have him on my hockey team. He's a free agent this summer. Who knows where he's going to play next year? Any fan in this league wants to have Sam Bennett. Just like Brad Marchand, just like Tom Wilson. You hate him on the opposition, but you would love to have him on his own team. But he is just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And I really wonder what it's going to look like in game 2, because the Leafs have pledged no retribution.
Yeah, I'm telling you, nothing is. It is going to look absolutely fine. It's going to look like it was in game 1.
You don't think anybody does anything?
No, I think there may be a bit of a bump. Okay. The Leafs are not going to target Sam Bennett to make a point. There is much more at stake here, Victoria, than there is at trying to get back at somebody who's going to do it again at some point. Hopefully not against Toronto. Who knows what? The Panthers are not the cleanest of teams. The Panthers are a dirty hockey team. Everyone understands that. Right. So no, this is the makeup of the Leafs. They're a bit different. And I think a lot of it has to do with Craig Berube behind the bench. He did say the other day, if that was me and I was on the ice and that happened when I was playing.
First guy out there.
Yeah. Okay, that's different. But I think it's this, and Matthew Nye said too after the game, was like, you know what, at the end of the game, we didn't put up with Florida's crap. We're just going to move on. It's a different mindset. Quickly, any concern for you now that Joseph Woll is going to be in goal for Toronto?
A little bit. I'd say concern, not panic.
Okay.
He was very good when he subbed in for Stolarz during the season, which he did consistently, and he played very well. He didn't look very good in game 1. I'm not going to fault the guy for that.
That was a tough situation to go into.
You're thrown into the deep end. Yeah. And this is my real concern. I'm not concerned about Joseph Woll individually. I didn't like the way the rest of the team looked, because that's when they hemorrhaged their 4-1 lead.
Yeah, no, I know.
I didn't like the way the rest of the team looked. They just dropped back a little bit more. They played a little bit more cautiously in their own end, and not in a good way.
No.
And that is more my concern. So if Joseph Woll is indeed the starter for game 2, which I believe he will be, I understand that Stolarz is day-to-day, but...
No. Okay, it's officially Woll. Matt Murray.
They have said that?
Matt Murray is a practice, and Anthony Stolarz doesn't have a stall in the locker room today, so he's not even going to be there. So I would be shocked if Anthony Stolarz comes back in this series, even if it goes 7. I would be shocked, because you don't go to the hospital on a stretcher, you're not throwing up, and you don't come back then 2 days after that to play a hockey game. I think that's absolutely wrong. Doesn't matter how good that he feels. So, Woll's, it's his net now, and it's his crease. So I'm with you. I think with Toronto, and then we'll move on, I think with Toronto, part of it was, and this is the mental part of the game. Nylander said after the game, he said, when he was interviewed by Kyle Bukauskas, he said, I'm not really sure what happened to Stolarz. You don't like to see anybody leave. I'll try to figure out what's going on. And at that time, nobody really knew, especially on the team, what happened. But I think that rattled them. I really did. So I think that was one of the reasons why the game got away from them a bit in that third. So
Woll did look rusty, though. But
he did. He did.
He's had a couple of days to settle with it.
Hadn't played in 18 days. Practice. Hadn't played in 18 days.
It's hard.
Or games. Speaking of goalies, Connor Hellebuck. Game 7 against St. Louis can go one of two ways for him when it comes to game 1 against the Stars and this whole series against the Stars. Number 1, it can do absolutely nothing. Or number 2, it can make him into the goaltender, not just at home, but in Dallas, that we've seen him be this season and others before.
His words, he had an awakening.
Well, let's hope so.
And he promised his team when they were down in that game that he wasn't going to let any more goals in. And he didn't. And we know what happened. The best game of the postseason so far as I'm concerned. I still think about it. It was days ago now. And he said that he had an awakening and you're going to see the best version of him. Ryan Paton, do you believe him?
I will believe him after game one, and I'll also believe him when I see what happens in the third and the fourth game that will be played in Dallas. Because on the road, he's been terrible. At home, he was 4-0. But even when he was at home,
outstanding.
Some of the goals that he let in. To me, one of the issues that he has is he's a big boy, and I think I may have talked to you about this before, but when you're 6'4", I think he's 6'4", he's like Stolarz. You cover the net quite a bit, and with the pads on, there's not much room. And you need to take advantage of that by moving further out of the crease. They always say for goalies, you got to cut down the angle. You come out, if you don't give them, you give them this much to shoot at, not this much to shoot at. But if you look at a lot of the goals that have been scored, he's back in his net. So I don't know what that is. Maybe he's losing track of something, but for him to be successful, you got to use that bump. Yeah, no, I know.
And we saw it in the third and in overtime in that game.
Yeah.
He did come out again. He looked like the aggressive goaltender that we were accustomed to all season long. And I mean, he's up for the Hart, he's up for the Vezina. So we know it's in him. So I think game one, even though it's at home, it's comfortable. This is where they're supposed to win. Dallas has some key players coming back in this one, Ryan.
They do.
I'm very curious to see how this unwinds.
You want to talk about Jack Hughes? You had that down on
I do want to talk about Jack
Okay.
Hughes. This was actually written about by a writer with the Hockey Writers, and then it has been backed up as well from other members of New Jersey's media. We know Jack Hughes has been injured for a long time, didn't play in the playoffs at all, and he had been out for a while, and it was a very disappointing ending to 24-25 for him. Understood. On exit day, when all the players are asked to give their exit interviews along with coaching staff and management and all the rest, he declined. He didn't even come out. Team representatives came out and said, Jack Hughes will not be speaking with you. Do you have an issue with that?
No.
See, there's a cat in the back there now.
Obviously, no. And the reason is this, and we've talked about this off and on throughout the year, whether it's, say we need to know the injury or the extent of an injury to an individual. And you're on the mindset of we all should know that injury and we should be privy to that information. I have no issue with it at all. I don't know him from anybody. But if I was to bet, one of the reasons why, and I think some of the members of the team said this about him, that, he's one of the faces, if not the face of that team. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. I don't know if that injury took a lot out of him. And not just talking physically, I think mentally as well. And I just feel that he is trying to get past that physically and completely mentally. And if he was to come, all the questions would be, how are you feeling? How's the rehab? What's the summer going to look like? Are you going to be ready to go? I wouldn't want to revisit that. Do you remember, and I'm blanking on that, Charlie McAvoy, when he came out at the end of the season, talked about how devastating when he got sick at the Four Nations, and you could see the emotion in his eyes, you could feel the emotion and hear it. I think this just had simply to do with, I don't want to talk about it because I'm going to be spoken to about this the whole time, and I just want to put it as.
But Charlie McAvoy came out and talked.
I know, but I'm saying maybe Hughes is a bit different. McAvoy's different. Everyone has, to me, it is, we need to respect what they want. Yes, I know we have a job to do in those covering and we want to know, but I think we have to respect them first and put them, if they want to talk to us, great. If they don't, that's fine.
I couldn't disagree more.
I know.
I've said this in the past. It's he said, I understand he's not the captain of the team. That's Nico Hischier. I get that. He has said before that people pay to watch him play, and he wants to be the face of the franchise. So this is where you step up.
Well, that's on the ice. You pay to watch him play on the ice. You don't need to pay
to
listen
this is entertainment, Ryan.
Right.
It's a full package deal.
Right.
All right? I mean, NFL players get fined for pulling this stuff. Right? It is a full package. These guys are paid, and I don't like bringing up the money aspect, but they are paid very, very handsomely for us to be entertained by them. And I don't think it's just exclusively on the ice. 96, 97%, yes. Yeah. But there's still that element of selling the game, and I think he owns his fan base in New Jersey. 45 seconds. I'm not saying he has to sit there for 20 minutes. 45 seconds, listen, it was a lousy, but I'm looking forward to next year. This is how I'm looking forward to the summer. That was his opportunity to launch next season. It's over.
Yeah.
You want to leave off on that proper foot. And I really do. Ryan, you and I go to work when crap happens. And to me, you go to work and you do your job. And I believe that is one of his responsibilities. I feel so strongly about that.
No, I know you do. I know you do. Two quick things. Tory Krug, according to Blues GM Doug Armstrong.
Yeah, this sucks.
Yeah, not expected to play in the league again. He's 34. The Blues announced back in September 3rd, that he would have left ankle surgery. He was diagnosed with pre-arthritic changes in his left ankle. So this, I can't put it better than you. It sucks.
It absolutely sucks. And I don't like the element of the information that Bill Armstrong is saying. He's the one who's saying Tory Krug isn't going to play again. And Tory Krug says he hopes to play again.
No, I know.
Bill Armstrong says he hopes that he's going to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe we see him again, but this sounds like it's a career, and that's unfortunate. Heck of a defenseman.
Yeah, no, loved watching him play. Last one. This came out again. We're doing the show. This is Wednesday, the 7th of May. And this news officially came out not too long ago, before we started to do this in the morning. It is now, Vic, the Utah Mammoth. Not the Mammoths.
I like it.
The Mammoth. After a 13-month process, 4 rounds of surveys, over 850,000 votes, the team announced on Wednesday that it is the Utah Mammoth. And the logo is called the Mountain Mammoth. And the rallying cry, ready for this?
Oh, no.
Tusks up.
Oh, no.
Tusks
what a mouthful. Tusks up.
It's going to be a lot to... If you're 2 periods into a game and you're 2 periods into something else, that's going to be really tough.
I like Mammoth. Not sure about Tusks up. Even I'm having a problem and I'm concentrating.
Yeah,
I like Mammoth. I didn't want Mammoths. Again, too lispy for me. Yeah. But Mammoth, all aboard. They're going to sell a gajillion Mammoth stuffies to the growing kid base of fans in Utah. It's going to be fantastic.
Mammoth. All right. We'll see. We'll take a break. We'll come back. And when we do return, Gary Lawless, Vegas Golden Knights insider, will join us. And we'll talk again about Game 1 last night between Edmonton and Vegas. The Oilers up 1-0. Series just getting going. There's at least 6 more, or at the most 6 more to go in that series. And we'll go 77 seconds in with Gary as well. Pucks and 7. Ryan Paton, Victoria and Matiash, Gary Lawless coming up.
Welcome back to Pucks and 7 with Ryan Paton and Victoria Matiash.
So Gary Lawless joining us here on the program, Vegas Golden Knights Insider. We've had Gary on before, and I'm doing something different, Gary, with you to introduce you fully here on the show. So I know, look at Victoria thinking, are you kidding me? I haven't even run this by you. Yeah, I haven't even run it by
Me too.
So I'm sure you're familiar with Dateline NBC, you know the show Dateline?
Holy, where are we going here?
Okay, hold on.
I know I have a past, but...
No. No, you're not on this episode. Gary in trouble. No. So Keith Morrison is one of the guys on the show, and I love watching the show. I love listening to Keith Morrison. Right?
Great voice.
One of the things that he does when he goes through the story within the hour, when all of a sudden the perpetrators, are convicted of something, it all points to the DNA. And one of his lines is, "Oh, that pesky DNA." So how this now translates to what I'm going to talk to you about now is, "Oh, those pesky Edmonton Oilers."
There we go. Okay.
See? They just keep showing up, Gary. They're down.
So I was on Spittin' Chicklets the other night.
Yeah.
And, Ryan Whitney, played for the Oilers, huge Oilers fan, tried to paint the Oilers as an underdog. And I'm not buying that. If you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you are never an underdog.
Never.
They were an underdog when they were finishing last every year and winning the lottery.
Yep.
They're not anymore. You have the 2 best offensive players in the world. You're not an underdog. So pesky, I'm not so sure about that. They didn't look very pesky last night. They looked awesome.
I think Ryan's point is that they've come back from behind 5 games in a row now.
Oh,
so
they always seem to be there.
Annoying,
you can't get rid of them. Yeah.
Right?
They're great. They're a great team. That's why. It's going into the series, I kind of had my little list, and I thought goaltending, Vegas gets the edge. Aiden Hill's got a Stanley Cup. Calvin Pickard does not. Depth. Vegas is kind of, they got 6 really good D. Pietrangelo didn't play in game 1. They put in Caden Korzak. He was fine, and he's, a good player who'd be a regular on most teams in the NHL. Brent Howden's on the 4th line. He had 23 goals this year. So I gave Vegas the depth. And then coaching, Bruce Cassidy's got a Stanley Cup and has been to the playoffs 9 straight years in a row, 6 with Boston, 3 with Vegas.
You check all the boxes. All the boxes are checked.
Yeah, but Edmonton was better in game 1.
Yeah.
So, and I think for Vegas, really good start, get up 2-0. Aiden Hill was excellent in the second. They were, Vegas only had 1 shot on goal. You're kind of like, okay, you've withstood their big charge. Vegas is the best team in the NHL in the 3rd period in terms of goal differential in the regular season. And, this is 2-1 at home. You're in a pretty good place. Edmonton took the game over and they were up 1-0. They were excellent.
What was the mood for the Vegas Golden Knights after that game? Was it defeated, or was it, no, we're going to go get him next time? Like, what was the feeling?
These guys never show, when they were down 2-1 to Minnesota, it was like, they were like, look, really, it could be 2-1 for us.
Okay.
And, if they're a little bit of puck luck here, a little bit of puck luck there. Yeah. And, if you're the Golden Knights, they were really off net last night with their shots. I think they would probably say to you, if we hit the net a little bit more, we generated some looks. We had some attempts, but we weren't on net. One of those goes in, it's a different situation. It coulda, shoulda, woulda, but they're never going to be, they'll never be rattled or defeated until the series is over and not in their favor. They just, they're built that way.
I believe, again, I don't put a ton of stock into, especially the one-on-one matchups over the course of the regular season. Who won more games, who lost more games. And I don't put as much into when they met in the playoffs last and who won and all that. But I will say this, 2 years ago when these 2 teams met, McDavid and Draisaitl, they had 11 goals, I believe. And Zach Hyman and Evan Bouchard, I think they chipped in with 3 in the power play. So they combined for 14. The rest of the team had 5. You said that you will never be an underdog with McDavid and Draisaitl on the team, and you cannot stop them. Nobody can. It is an impossibility. So the question to you then and to Vegas is, how can you try to slow them down a lot over the course of a game, or is that even possible?
I think Vegas did a pretty good job of that last night, and the daggers came from Hyman and
Corey Perry.
And Corey Perry, and Connor Brown.
That pesky Corey Perry. There you go. That pesky Corey Perry.
Corey's from my hometown. I find it hard not to love him. You'd like to have him on your team. He's still at 40 years old. He's still one of the best players around the blue ice in the NHL, and maybe that ever played the game. He's very good in that area. And he's been around the Stanley Cup. He won it in 2007, but how many times has he lost it?
Yeah,
right. Like the teams get him, and they end up going deep with him. And you're always like, how is Corey Perry helping him? And then he scores goals. So
actually, I want to ride that tangent for a second. He also won a Hart. I think a lot of people forget that as well. He's a Hart Trophy winner.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer.
Interesting.
I say yes.
Well, somebody who was on the Hall of Fame committee, and then after they were off, I was asking them about a player. I was asking them about Butch Goring, because I think Butch should be in. And they, the explanation to me was, it's not the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Good. It's the Hall of Fame. Like, you've got to be really dominant and really special, for quite a stretch. And I think Corey Perry would be right on the edge. Is he a great player now? I don't know if he would say that, but he certainly has his moments where he can be very effective. It's an interesting question, Victoria. I don't have his DB up in front of me, but over 1,000 games. Does he have 1,000 points?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Right.
You
that's a
check
pretty
on
big
that.
number.
I would think so. I'm with you. I'm on the fence.
He has all
close.
the hardware, personal. He's won on the international stage. Won a
Yeah.
cup. The longevity to me speaks volumes. 22
Yeah.
years or whatever it is in the league.
And he can be an X factor in any series.
That's
He can
the
be,
thing.
right?
There's the intangibles to me as well. So
You don't
I put him in.
Yeah. So for game 2, Gary, what then does Vegas, especially from what you saw in game 1, what do you think the Golden Knights need to do a little bit differently to try to even up this series?
Well, for me with the Golden Knights, it's never about the other team. I always kind of think they did it to themselves because they're good, right? They're very good, and they usually need a little wake up call. Now, if they wait till game 4 like they did in the Minnesota series, that would be problematic against the Oilers, I would think. And that's not fair. Like, they won game 1. They weren't very good in game 2. Game 3, they kind of turned the corner. And that's, a lot of the Golden Knights said to me after game 3, he goes, we could have won that game. We could be up 2-1.
Right.
And then they never looked back after that. But I don't think you can do that with Edmonton. I think game 2 is Bruce Cassidy said yesterday, I asked him, what do you expect? And he was kind of like, quizzical, like, what do you mean? Like, I said, what do you expect from the game? Like, what do you, and he said, I don't really know. And he said, I expect us to be good and I expect us to win. But then he said, or that's what I hope. He said, game 1's a weird thing. And usually if a series goes 6 or 7, you can't even remember what happened in game 1.
Fair enough.
But I think that I do think we'll remember what happened in game 1 because it will. It's so hard to make definitive statements after one game in a series because
absolutely.
The Oilers were down against they lost the first 2 to the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
They won that series, right? And you to really kind of say this is what's going to happen, I think is a bit of a fool's errand, but I do think the Golden Knights will want to be a lot better. Somebody from Edmonton said to me on the way out of the building last night, he said, I don't know if we can play any better. And,
really?
I'm not sure that's true, but they were very good. And what did Cassidy say? He said, midway through the game, both teams needed to raise their level. Edmonton did. We didn't. They won. Yeah. So, I'll expect Edmonton to be dangerous early. They'll want to get Vegas on their collective heels, but I just think the Golden Knights will want to be better. It'll be interesting. Cassidy, he's not shy to change his lines, and he doesn't do it out of panic. He does it when he wants more of one certain thing from his group. And, they were up 2-1 after 2, and he changed the lines last night, and nobody really clicked in the third, obviously.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. Practice starts in a little over 2 hours here on the West Coast, and it'll be interesting to see what they roll out. And Dorofeev, Bruce said yesterday that he's day-to-day by skating. Has not skated with the team. And then Pietrangelo didn't play due to illness. I would expect he'll be ready for game 2. So they're going to have to be better. That's for sure. Edmonton is a Stanley Cup threat. And so is Vegas. I actually think just about everybody's still alive in the NHL. Gary Bettman was on our broadcast last night, and I'm a huge fan of the current playoff format. And if you want to argue with me, I'll just say to you, did you watch the last 2 weeks?
Right.
It's the greatest thing in professional sport.
It is.
Round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs is the greatest thing in pro sport. There's nothing like it. And now there's 8 teams still standing that are fantastic. And
they can all win. I agree with you. They can all win.
This series is they're rivals. Like McDavid, the first thing he said after they beat LA was, we owe Vegas a good series. We don't forget what happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Winnipeg and Dallas is going to be like crazy theater.
Yeah.
We've got Toronto and Florida is
a little bit of drama. so
A
far?
little bit of drama.
Little
Yeah.
bit of drama?
And then Carolina beat Washington last night, coming from behind, OT winner. I don't know. I just think this certainly isn't broken. And matter of fact, it really, really works well. Don't touch it.
That first round was certainly dizzying. And I will say this, defensively, that's the best I've seen the Oilers play this postseason by a country mile. And I think that was the biggest difference maker last night. As far as the Vegas X factor goes, not Jack Eichel, not Mark Stone. Who is it?
Well, Tomas Hertl has really made this team a lot better.
Yep,
offensively, and he was quiet last night, so I would expect. They need like Stone and Eichel were really good last night. Stone had 2 goals. Eichel was, they were effective. I think the Hertl needs to. Edmonton got some help down their lineup last night. Vegas didn't. So I've got an answer for you, Victoria. After all this, Vegas's depth, they need to come through.
Yeah. Okay, there's the X factor then.
Yeah, they got to start doing that in game 2. Before we get to the 77 seconds, again, I think you kind of touched on things that all 8 teams have a great shot at winning the Stanley Cup, and that's great for the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we also mentioned briefly Florida and Toronto. I want your thoughts because the Sam Bennett thing with Stolarz and all the stuff that's come out of that afterward. Your thoughts on it? No call on the ice, no discipline after. Stolarz is not playing. He doesn't even have a stall in the locker room this morning, so he's gone at least for the foreseeable future. And again, it's Sam Bennett, Gary. Sam Bennett he does have a history with this type of thing. So just kind of after you've dissected a bit of that and digested, where do you stand on the whole thing?
Well, the Department of Player Safety would have looked at this. Knowing Stolarz was injured, they would have looked at this and I don't want to say that they would have, been in a position where they were going to suspend Bennett unless they saw something that talked them out of it. Normally it would be the other way around, right? Innocent until proven guilty. But, Bennett would have had a bit of a guilt sweater on when they started looking at that video. I watched it a bunch of times, and there just didn't, it's so hard to know how much force was there, but it just didn't look like much. And the referees, they probably should have called a penalty in real time. But again, if they had looked at that video, let's say they put 4 up or put 5 up, put a major up, and then they go to the iPad. They wouldn't have given him a major. They would have left it. They would have dropped it down to a minor. It's not like there's no, people's elbow or anything like that. He gets him in the head. And this is, he kind of grazed isn't the right word.
It was more than a graze.
I don't know how much force was there.
Yeah.
But this is the thing with head injuries. I think he was probably concussed when he got the puck in the mask, and probably should have been removed from the game then.
Right.
And then this, there's a cumulative effect on these things, and it's why they remove players from games, especially like young kids. They get anything that resembles a head injury. They're out and they don't come back, because if you come back and you get it again, it can be devastating. So now I get it. These are grown men that are making a lot of money, and it's the playoffs, and they're nobody. But
it's the head, it's the brain, right? Like this is
and he does have that. He did shake his head a little bit after he took that took the Reinhardt shot to the face. So. And the spotters are in a terrible spot. He continued to play well after that. So, I don't think the Department of Player Safety, I think they handled it properly, because I kept looking at it and because I'll be honest, I like Sam Bennett. but Florida knocked Hagel out of the first round. And I'm like, you know what? We can't have this. We can't have a team knocking players out. It's, it's not, this isn't the era of the Philadelphia Flyers and the Mastodons roaming the ice. Like we gotta take care of business here. But I looked and looked and looked, and I come to the conclusion that what happened earlier had the big factor. I'm not a doctor though, you know what I mean? Maybe I should be careful. Scott Arneal is going to be screaming at me. I don't have a medical degree, but that's where I come in on it.
I'm so fascinated by the variety of opinions and how they stretch from here to here. And you hear from very intelligent, educated people, and some people are here and some people are here. It's just, it fascinates me.
Who are these educated, intelligent people you're referring to? Present company excluded, right?
No, not at all.
I will say this. I have made it a point to go to the Department of Player Safety whenever I can, when the Golden Knights are in New York City, and I've sat in there for a full night on a number of occasions. I watch how they do it. I do not believe in this. I think people in the media too easily say I gave up on what they're trying to do a long time ago. I think these people are really good at their jobs, are very experienced, have seen tens of thousands of collisions. They know exactly how to apply the rule book to these situations. They are impartial. I really believe in those people and the job they do. And to me, this isn't one of your Toronto media members yesterday tweeted that, George Peros is unfit for the job and should resign immediately.
I know of whom you speak.
Me too.
I could not disagree any more forcefully.
It's just, to me, I don't think there's any hidden agenda or anything like that, or conspiracy or anything. I just think there's so much nuance with all of these calls, and it's a very, very tough job. Let's just do one quick light one before we move on to 77 seconds. Utah Mammoth, like it?
I'm not a fan of. I was a sports writer for a long time, and when there's no plural.
Right.
Yeah, but we have the Wild, we have the Avalanche, we can adapt.
Yeah. They become for me, they become the Avs in Minnesota.
Right? Yeah. I do it too. I know. I was like, is it them or it or?
Yeah. And did you see what the rallying cry is for the Mammoth?
No.
Tusks up.
Say
I
that
like
10
that
times
actually.
fast.
Yeah, maybe Mark Carney can be their mascot.
Right.
Get him running around the stadium.
And we should probably leave that there.
Seriously? That's not political.
No, that's right. It's not political, but we'll still, maybe we'll leave that there. All right.
It's sunny out here in Las Vegas today. It rained yesterday.
I looked at your weather earlier. I always wonder when it gets super hot there, and you have gorgeous weather right now. So,
well, we were there at the draft, right? And it was super hot.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter, I had to stay for the draft because it was in Las Vegas, and I actually usually do cover the draft.
Yeah.
But my wife and daughter were they're elbowing me in the kitchen, like, let's go. Let's get to Canada. We have a little place in Manitoba, and they were ready to be there.
All right, Gary. Let's do 77 seconds.
What are the rules here again? Tell me about the rules.
It's just quick fire, but you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, quick fire, 7 questions. Take your time.
I recall I failed at this the last time.
You know what? Everyone's failed it. Everyone's failed it.
You did beautifully.
And 77 seconds.
Yeah, okay, 777 seconds with Gary. Okay, here we go.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Right.
That's true.
I just love the Carney comment. Okay. Favorite non-Vegas moment of this past regular season?
Oh. Jeez, you have stumped me.
You can pass. Phone a friend, 50-50.
I'll pass for now and let me think about it, and I'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that one. Okay, so this is a little bit more recent. Fave non-Vegas moment of the first round.
The Winnipeg Jets.
I was going to say.
I watched. My wife is born in Winnipeg. My daughter is born in Winnipeg, so we watched that game together. And let's say 2 or 3 of us jumped off the couch.
Right.
When the Jets tied that one up, and then when they won it.
I'm still thinking about that game days later. It's still going through. We screamed in our Toronto basement, and I didn't have any horse in the race. It was just great theater.
I said to Vic when we did this on Monday, one of the most famous fanned shots in history. Nick Ehlers fanning on that shot because it set everything up.
Something else.
We have should Bennett have been disciplined. I think we know your answer to that. So let's move on. Most underappreciated Golden Knight right now.
It's Braden McNabb today, Braden McNabb tomorrow, Braden McNabb yesterday. It's Braden McNabb.
All right.
See, I think he's rather appreciated. I think he's excellent.
He is by us, but
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Who comes out of the East?
Toronto.
Oh man.
Why are you covering your eyes, Gary?
I was born in Peterborough, Ontario.
I know.
In 1968.
Yep. Okay.
And the Toronto Maple Leafs were really bad, like offensively bad, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
sure were.
I am not a Leafs fan. We watched the Montreal Canadiens in my house, and it's not that do I hate the Leafs? No, but I had this like real. You had this, my neighbors were all Leafs fans, so we're always arguing, and you know what I mean? And I used to say I hate the Leafs, but now I think they've done a real nice job, Craig Berube and Ryan Treliving.
Seems like a different team. Different team. The mindset, just kind of the body language. We'll see. Big game coming up tonight.
I find in our neck of the woods, one sec, Ryan, past Oshawa, there's more, the Leafs resentment starts to grow. If you're born in Oshawa, you're a Leafs fan. That's what I found through experience. And then beyond that, once you get into like Brockville or Peterborough or Kingston, it's more Habs fans, or if not a Habs fan, hatred of the Leafs. Right?
Well, there's also, if you live in Peterborough, just to give you a little bit, like all the cottages around the area, people from Toronto own a lot of the cottages, and they say the city. Like, I'm going back to the city, and, that means Toronto, not Peterborough, which is closer. And then the private boys' school, it's actually co-ed now, which is in Lakefield, just out of Peterborough.
I know exactly where that is.
A lot of really rich Toronto people would send their kids to. And if you played high school sports in our area and you were a middle-class kid, you were tearing the seat in the bus apart trying to get at one of those guys when you would go to play one of the games. So there's a whole bunch of psychological stuff here that we don't need to delve into right now.
No, mind games. Save that for the next time. Favorite other NHL city to visit for you outside of Vegas?
Yeah, I love New York City, but this year we got stuck in Chicago in the spring not stuck. We were, the way the schedule went, we got to Chicago. The next day was a complete off day. And then the next day was just a practice day. And then there was a game. So we had dinner at Gibby's. Got there at 3:30 in the afternoon and made our way back to the hotel room at around 11. And
that's a good dinner.
Yeah, it is.
We had a great time in Chicago this year. The weather was perfect. You could walk. You could. It was really good. So Chicago right now is top of the heap.
And Gary getting a 20-course meal at Gibby's then if you're there for 7-8 hours.
That would be rather special. I love eating in Chicago. I can't live there though. I would be 458 pounds. What's one thing we should know about Darren Millard that we don't?
He has we get to the rink on game day. Like I get there at 7:45, 8 o'clock after I drop my daughter off at school, and he is already got his tie on.
Oh boy!
For the TV show that starts like at 6:30 that night. So and Shane Knighty gives it to him mercilessly. It's one of my favorite things, actually, watching someone else take Darren apart.
He's prepped
I enjoy that. I would have mine loosely hanging up until camera light goes red. That's how I would do it. But
some people don't put them on until they get to set, right?
Or you go old school, get a clip on, right? Just get a clip on tie. Yeah. Oh, time to go.
I haven't seen that.
Right?
I don't think I've seen that in my time.
No.
Doing TV on hockey. No.
Gary, thank you for this.
I want to circle back. We got to have
I have my moment.
Oh, that's right. Yes, sorry. Favorite non-Vegas moment of the regular season. Yeah. Yes.
So it was at the Four Nations face-off.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I had dinner with Ryan's colleagues, Dave Pagnotta and Dennis.
Yes, I know where this is going.
And Dennis and I took an Uber back to the hotel. And you never really know how someone feels about you until you're in a moment of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Our Uber driver decided to drive over a snowbank, and the car tilted like this.
Goodness.
And I was on this side. So I my head banged, my glasses went flying, and Dennis is wisely had a seatbelt on, and he's fine, but I've been dislodged. I've been jostled. And Dennis, the first thing out of his mouth, gee, are you okay? He was so, and Dennis and I, we go at it. If I showed you our text messages, all three of us would blush. Sometimes it's not very nice. He went after me last night after Vegas lost, by the way.
Yes.
I can imagine.
But the concern in his eyes for me was legit. And that I found out I really had a good friend. So that's my favorite regular season moment that had nothing to do with the Golden Knights.
Dennis is one of my favorite people in this
let's
sport.
Not get crazy here, Victoria.
No, I mean, come on.
He is.
Right?
He's one of my favorite people, and I tell him that all the time.
Can you edit this now?
I'm doing it as we speak.
Ruined for me.
Because if Dennis hears this, we don't need to pump him up anymore. And then he already is. Gary, thank you. That's a great way to end this show. We appreciate this as always, and look forward to doing it again.
Let's have a great series.
Barking, so I got to get her. I got to get her out of the house here.
This has been Pucks in 7, available on the SiriusXM app and wherever you get your podcasts.